Hello, welcome back. In the last class, we have seen Wittgenstein's critique of private language. And in that, we have seen what is meant by private language, the term private language, and also the general conditions under which he criticizes the private language. And today, we will be looking into the specific argument that Wittgenstein put forward against private language, or his criticism in specific ways. There are three main criticisms against private language that's put forward by Wittgenstein. The first one is the memory skepticism. The second one is the meaning skepticism. And the third one is the beetle in the box argument. In today's class, we'll be looking into these three criticisms one by one. For knowledge, we normally depends on memory. That I know the color of rose. I remember it. And the memory plays a role in formulation of knowledge. But how far memory can be reliable, logically reliable, is a problem. And that's raised in memory skepticism. And according to this, there is no sense in talking memory as correct. Since the meaning is private, there is no possibility to verify the correctness of memory. If I say that my memory is correct because I remember it correctly, it doesn't make any sense. Because how can I check the correctness of my remembrance? I got an experience and I got a recollection of that experience, that's my memory. Now, is there any way to check the correctness of that experience? That's my memory. Now, until unless you bring it forward, you bring it in the outside publicly, there is no way to correct because both are private. My experience is the first-hand experience, and that, of course, is a valid one. But my memory about that experience, whether it's distorted or not, there is no second criteria to compare with my memory with the original one. So since memory is always private, there is no possibility to verify its correctness. If I say that I remember the color of rose as red, my conception of redness yesterday and my conception of the same redness today, in order for me to claim it out of my memory, doesn't make any sense. Because I have present memory, but the yesterday's memory I do not hold. What I hold today is my memory about yesterday's memory. That's today's memory. There is no memory left with me. There is no yesterday's memory or yesterday's experience left with me to examine it today, since that memory is private. So we cannot depend on memory as a proof for the meaning of a proposition or the meaning we understand. I understood it yesterday in certain way. When I say rose is red, it's a proposition. I have its meaning in certain way yesterday, and today too I have a meaning. Now whether these two meanings are similar or not, there's no way to verify. There's no logical way to verify. I can only believe that it's the same as yesterday, because I cannot bring back the yesterday's memory to today's along with today's memory to compare. So this is the essence of memory skepticism. Hence, correctness of sentence is a problem in private language. Since the language is private, the sentence or proposition that I understand privately cannot be claimed to be true or false, correct or incorrect, because there is no second criteria to compare it. So that's the problem of memory skepticism. Now coming to meaning skepticism. It's about the usage of a word, whether we use it in the same way if we use in private language. These all problems are related to private language. If you use it in language as a public activity, there is no problem. That we will examine later on. If a word is used in public with different sense at different time, it can be detected and correctly correct it. Okay. If I use a word in certain way and you use in some other way, the difference can be identified because there will be some conflict in our understanding of a sentence or a situation. From that conflict, from that mismatch in understanding, we can find out that, we can infer that there is some misunderstanding in our language. So we can correct it. But if we use it privately, if we use a word privately, now how can its meaning be identified if I am using it in different sense in different contexts? That's the problem. In case of private language, since the use of the word and the one check for its correctness are the same, the check in meaning cannot be dictated. If I use it privately instead of publicly, the word which I use now and the word which I use to check the correctness is one and the same. So there is no way in which I can dictate the change in meaning. The way I used it yesterday and the way I use it today, if there is any difference, it cannot be identified. There is a concrete example for me about this. My daughter was studying in 3rd or 4th. We used to, since she was small, we used to call him Purk. Purk is our regional word for mosquito. But since she took the meaning of the word Purk as small, and we also held the meaning to be small because the mosquito is small, that's what it's called. So in our home, the meaning of Purk was used as small. When she was in the assembly, some mosquito bit a girl, her friend, and he called Purk. She could not understand that. Why is she called Purk? And she came back to home and told that she was calling Purk in assembly, and we do not know for what it is called. And we just overlooked it. And I was consciously experimenting on that. And again, still in another day, the same thing happened. And she asked, my daughter asked her friend, why you are calling it Purk? She told it's mosquito. Then daughter told, Purk means not mosquito, it means small. Then there became a conflict because they both were using the word Purk in different sense. Then only she came to realize that the original meaning of Purk is mosquito, and she came home and told. So if we hold, if as a same person or as different persons, if we hold the meaning differently, this will be revealed in a public communication. The same thing will come in between the box argument also. It will be revealed as a conflict in public use of language. But if you use it privately, since the meaning is changing and the person who uses also holds the new meaning, there is no way to verify its meaning. And Wittgenstein says that the correctness, I can say that I use the meaning of red in the correct way yesterday and today. When such claims are made, Wittgenstein says the correctness thus claimed, Wittgenstein says, is tautological. Like saying, I know how tall I am by keeping hand on my head, on one side. By keeping my hand on my head, if I say, I know how tall I am. This is tautological. Anybody can tell. This is not referring anything to your tallness. Whether you are 5 feet, 6 feet, 7 feet, anybody can keep his or her hand on head and say that I am this much tall. And there is a classic example for such correctness as far as Wittgenstein is concerned. He says that there is exactly one thing which is both 1 meter long and which is not 1 meter long, and that is the standard meter kept in Paris. The standard meter, 1 meter length, if you say, the standard meter is the length of platinum rod kept in the Paris Museum. In Paris Museum there is a platinum rod. Its length is 1 meter, standard 1 meter. Earlier it was, now it's declared in terms of light travels in someone by something of second. So earlier, the standard 1 meter was the length of the platinum rod kept in Paris. Now, if you ask, what is the length of the platinum rod kept in Paris Museum? And if you answer it's 1 meter, then you are telling that the length of the platinum rod kept in Paris Museum is 1 meter. Means 1 meter means the length of the platinum rod kept in Paris Museum. This you can, so ultimately you are claiming that the length of the platinum rod kept in Paris Museum is the length of the platinum rod kept in Paris Museum. So the problem here is that you are measuring something with the very criteria with which the measurement is made. So if you claim the meaning of a word to be correct, the private use to be correct from the private use itself, this is such claiming. And you can say that the length of the pen is the length of this pen. So that doesn't make any sense. It's like just saying that I am this tall. Anybody can say. It's tautological. So the meaning skepticism claims that the private words, when a word is used privately, the usage of the word and the criteria for checking the correctness of that usage, since both are private, they are tautological. They are always correct. You can always claim that they are correct, because there is no evidence. There is no evidence you can show for that, because it cannot be brought into public. So that's the meaning skepticism. Now coming to the third argument against private language, it's the beetle in the box argument. And it's a thought experiment. And thought experiment, you may be knowing already, it's used in philosophy. It's a imaginary situation is made where we think about certain possibilities, and if such possibilities ends up in some sort of conflict, then our initial position is wrong. It's just something similar to what you do in indirect proof in symbolic logic. In direct proof, you start from a denial and end up in a contradiction and says that the denial is possible. In thought experiment also, mostly it's done like this. We imagine a situation and we derive its consequence and find that there are some mismatch in consequence and there are something contradictory in consequence, inacceptable in consequence. If that's the case, if the consequence is inacceptable, then the initial position is there is something wrong with the initial position. So, in the beetle in the box thought experiment, it says that assume that a group of people have one box each in their hand. There's one box each in their hand. They all, say 5 people are holding one box in their hand. And no one can see what's in the other's box. You can see only your box, nobody else's box. It's like private experience or private language, that you can see only your box. What's inside this box you can open and see. Nobody else's box you can see. And they said that what is in their box is beetle. In your box, what you have is beetle. The objects in the boxes are actually different. The 5 people have got different objects. One person might have got a pencil, another person might have got a pen, the third person might have got a pen drive, the 4th person box may be empty, like that. They may have different objects or may be empty. So the object inside the boxes are actually different. Each one of them now knows what the beetle is. Now since they are not seen that object before, they believe that that object is beetle. And that's a private knowledge. That's a private meaning for that object. But their knowledge about the beetle is different, like private language. I believe that what's in my box is beetle. The second person believes so, third person believes so. And they understand the meaning of beetle in different ways. Now, they can hold different ideas of beetle until they speak publicly about what is there in their box. Until they use the language, the word beetle publicly, they can hold that their idea is true. Like the case of mosquito the story which I told earlier. The moment they discuss about the objects in the box, the difference will come out and cannot have different ideas about what the beetle is. So unless they make the language, they use the language publicly, they can have the private idea, there can be differences. But once they use it publicly, the word beetle publicly, then the differences will come out and they will try to resolve in one way or the other, and they will understand what the other understands by beetle. And they may be forced to use different words for that, for different persons' beetle. So, Wittgenstein argues that since language is a public activity, a private language like beetle in the box is impossible. So you cannot hold a private meaning or private language like the beetle in the box. You may hold it, but if you use it in language, and since language is a public activity, it will make some sort of conflict in language and it will bring out the public meaning for that. So there is no possibility for holding a private language. And this is how Wittgenstein criticized is the notion of private language. And it has got much impact, not only in philosophy of language, but also, as I have told earlier, in philosophy of mind also. What's the meaning that you keep in mind? That different person can have different neurological states and have different ideas about one and the same word, and how much the internal feeling or the internal idea makes sense in the use of language. That's all about critique of private language. In the next class, we'll discuss about Wittgenstein's notions on philosophy. Till then, bye. Thank you.